Let's play ball.
Welcome out, ladies and gentlemen, to beautiful Spanish Fork, Utah, as we enjoy State 5A baseball. This is game one of round two of the State 5A tournament between the Clearfield Falcons, the visiting team, and your home team, the Maple Mountain Golden Eagles.
Chase Johnston.
Today, pitching for the Golden Eagles up on the mound is Chase Johnson. Behind home plate is Braden Catterson catching. Over at first, Cy Chrisman. At second, A.J. Thomas. And over at third, Logan Brinkhurst. Over at shortstop, we have Sawyer Leifson. In left field, Max Walker. Center field, Bennett Averett. And over in right field, Colby Warren. So as far as the standings go at this moment in time, right now Maple Mountain comes into this matchup at the very top seeded for Region 7. They're taking on, like I said, Clearfield right now. Just below them is Springville. They're slotted against South Jordan. And then Orem just below that versus Alta. All three of those teams, Maple Mountain and Springville and Orem, all had byes this previous week. Spanish Fork, on the other hand, they were able to defeat the Bonneville Lakers to move on, and they are now taking on Salem Hills starting at this moment in time as well. And after things shake out here today, we'll have a little bit of a sneak peek of who could be moving on into the next round. Everyone's very optimistic for Maple Mountain, who looks very good for the regular season. They weren't able to close out with the win against their final opponent, Orem, who went up against them 4-2 in the final matchup. However, the rest of the season they looked practically unshakable, and a lot of that starts there on the mound as we see the first pitch come in low and outside, making the count 1-0. First hitter for the Clearfield Falcons is Hudson Meyer. Now, Meyer is in center field for the day. The count is 2-0, but make that 2-1 as he gets a little heater in there. And he's going to get a chunk of this one, smack it over into the gap between second and third, where the play is going to be made over to Chrisman at first. So that's the Leafs and Chrisman connection. One out in the top of the first. And that'll bring up number 23, Peyton Cotter. He's slotted at shortstop for the Falcons today. Now, if Maple Mountain comes out of this series victorious, they will take on the champion of Murray and Woods Cross. Woods Cross was able to oust number 23 seeded Wasatch during their first round. The count is now 2-0, looking eerily familiar. Hopefully they end up with the same result here for Maple Mountain. Third pitch comes in, and this one's almost put to the exact same spot where the same play will be made, another Leafson-Chrisman connection. And 2 for 2 so far. Leafson seen a lot of action over there in the shortstop slot. So with 2 ground outs, top of the first. One more to go for Maple Mountain, and this will bring up Jake Ross, number 22. He's behind home plate as the catcher today. And the first pitch comes in with a little bit of heat on it. He'll swing through that one and miss, making the count 0-1. And winds up, delivers the second, and this one's just going to clip the bottom. Could have been called either way, but that will make the count 0-2. One strike away from wrapping up the top of this inning here for Maple Mountain. Here's the delivery. That one's going to be in the dirt. A good eye and a good hand by Catterson. Behind the plate, who's one of the many backbones to this team. And Leifson's going to get another piece of this one. However, this one's going to fumble off his Chrisman's mitt as the attempt is made over at first base. So 3 almost identical hits. This one took a couple weird bounces and then didn't end up in the hands of Chrisman. So
And to run for the Falcons, number 19.
Ross gets on base with a ground infield single, and this will bring up number 6, Logan Finn. He plays over in left field for the Falcons. And fouls this one back hard. Hard and high. Making the count 0-1. And the pickoff attempt is made. They're going to say he made it back there safe. That's Ross over there on first. So very timely pickoff attempt from Johnston to Chrisman to keep things honest over there at first base. And this time he'll take a little bit less of a lead, about a 5-foot lead over there, and not much doing over there as they make another pickoff attempt. So the count remains 0-1. Here's just the second pitch. After the first one was fouled back, that one's going to be low and in the dirt, making it 1-1. 2 outs in the inning, runner on first. And now we're at 1-2. Logan Finn, who's up to bat at the moment, he comes in third for the Falcons for batting average, batting a .348 on the season. And it's just waiting for the one that he likes. Almost gets through that one. That one is another low in the dirt, making the count 2-2. Good trapping so far, and an apt job keeping in front of him by Catterson. Now Ross, who just got on base there with a bit of luck going his way, leads the team in batting average as the play is made on a little ground bloop over to second.
All right, at that, Clearfield records.
So that wraps up the top of the first. No runs, a single error. Ross left stranded over on first. And as we flip the table and head over into the bottom of the first, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. That is Lance Wilson State Farm, Two Jacks Pizza, MVP Sports, and Triple T Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing.
Unfortunately, no Clearfield here. Feel free to come down and support the Maple Mountain Baseball program.
Now the winner between Salem Hills and Spanish Fork will go on to take on the winner of Viewmont and Box Elder. That's number 3 seeded Viewmont and number 14 seeded Box Elder. And that game, so we're covering this game today. Tomorrow we're gonna swap over to Salem Hills and have some coverage tomorrow the 17th, have some coverage starting at 1 o'clock for that Salem Hills Spanish Fork matchup. And then if necessary, if they do go to a third game in that series, we're also going to cover that third game. And it should start, about 20 minutes after that first game wraps up.
Hey, Clearfield fans, can you guys hear me out of that speaker over there? Clearfield?
So after only one incident in the top of the first, Maple Mountain will now lead off their order with A.J. Thomas coming first, followed by Max Walker on deck, then Cy Chrisman. We'll get to some interesting stats on him in just a second, and then Logan Brinkhurst to clean things up for them. And the fielding for the Clearfield Falcons, up on the mound is going to be Ryan Fry. Behind the plate, Jake Ross. Over at first, Tavin Swartz. At second, Colt Chambers. At third, Caden Coleman. Slotted in for shortstop is going to be Peyton Cotter in left, Logan Finn in center, Hudson Meyer, and over in right field, George Garcia. Now, A.J. Thomas gets on base about half the times he steps up to bat, on on-base percentage of .510. And that first one's going to slip in there, ball. So making the count 1-0 at the start of the bottom of the first. And good delivery on that one. They're going to say that one was just inside and high. Making the count 2-0. And that one couldn't have missed by much, but counts 3-0 against Thomas. And it looks like he's going to go ahead and make his way on to first on a walk.
Now batting for the Eagles, number 10, Max Walker.
Now, Ryan Fry up there on the mound right now is actually backed up by two great pitchers back in the pen there. Peyton Cotter is top 10 in the state in kills on the season, and he's matched pretty evenly with his competition, who sits on the mound in the other innings, or in the other half of the innings. That's Chase Johnson. Both of them are top 15 in their respective rankings. As Ryan Fry goes 1-on-1 on this count. Max Walker, left fielder. He is matched with the lead for the team in stolen bases. He has 13 on the season. That's matched with Caden Giles and Colby Warren. All three of them with 13 apiece, as he's able to tap this one out by second where the error is made, but it's still going to get there in time. So after a quick fumble there for Peyton Cotter, he's able to pitch it up to Colt Chambers to take that out there, but Walker is going to be able to, on an infield single, get over to first. And that'll bring up Big Cy Chrisman. Now, we talked about some interesting stats with him. He's top 15 in the state in quite a few stat categories, namely his batting average. He bats at .500 as of right now. He's hit 6 home runs on the season, ranking him at 13th in state, and his slugging percentage puts him at 10th. Slugs an .872. And then his on-base percentage is a .594, putting him at 16th in the state. So that's the one that slips out of that top 15 category. But on pretty much every major batting statistic, he is top 20 in the state. And sees that one through for a strike right there, making the count 1-2 against Chrisman. And he'll take a moment to step out of the box and grab his bearings. And he'll swing right through that one. Now, I'm not sure exactly what was called right there, if it was interference. However, that's going to be the...
No runs on no hits, no errors. Your score after one complete inning is Clearfield.
I'm still trying to get the full picture of what happened here, but either way, that's going to end up stranding. Walker over on first after A.J. Thomas was tagged out at second. And then Chrisman is going to strike out there, and then they're going to call what I'm understanding to be batter's interference. So we're going to go ahead and go to break. We'll see you on the flip side.
If you're looking for a workout, you know MVP Sports is the place to start, and that includes pickleball. MVP Sports has all you need to get active in this growing sport. Paddles, shoes, clothing, and the pickleballs. MVP Sports in Spanish Fork.
The best time to check your furnace is before it fails, and you can rely on Triple T to do the job right. Our technicians are trained every year so you can sleep better at night, knowing your furnace is safe to operate. Call Triple T at 798-7711 to schedule your tune-up today.
Welcome back out to Spanish Fork, Utah, where the score remains all flush at love all 0-0 between these two clubs, your Maple Mountain Golden Eagles, as they take on the Clearfield Falcons after an interesting wrap-up to that first inning. Clearfield is seeded number 15, taking on the number 2 seed, and they have high hopes for this game. And next up to bat for the Falcons is going to be number 3, Colt Chambers. He plays over at second base and takes a high standing up stance here. And that one's going to miss low, making it 1-0. And he'll quickly step back into the box and once again take that standing stance. A lot of room for strikes there. That one gets in there, so it's going to be 1-1. Johnson so far today has been able to strike out one as the play is made there. A lot of action over there in that shortstop slot.
Now batting number 14, Taven Swartz.
As the first inning went ground out, a single, and then a single on an error, and then an out. So this will bring up Taven Swartz after the play is made for the Golden Eagles. And that one will get through, making the count 0-1. Swartz plays over at first base and watches another one go by, making the count 0-2. Favorable pitcher's count here. And Johnston will work that one in there, and Swartz is able to get a little piece of that, sending it back into the fence over by me here. Making the count still 0-2 with one out in the top of the second. And here comes the pitch. He'll swing over the top of it.
For your Golden Eagles. Now batting.
And he's been good on the 2-2-1, the fast curve, and works it right there, taking care of business. So that's 2 outs, top of the second here. And that'll bring up Ryan Fry, pitcher for the Falcons. And that one looked like it waltzed right down the lane. They're going to call it outside, making the count 2-0. And again, some action over there, and the play is not made as this one goes past Chrisman over into the fence, where Catterson will run over and collect it and make sure that no more damage is done. So a good heads-up play by Catterson, and then Leafson not quite able to make the play, but an excellent effort getting on the ground for him. So he'll stand up, dust the dust off, and everyone will reset with Fry over on first. Now, I have Fry down on my scorecard here as number 11. He is, in fact, wearing the number 10 jersey. So with a quick correction, excuse me. So now it's number 10, Ryan Fry over there on first. And he'll take a healthy lead as they get a swing over here for Garcia that he had no business swinging at. Making the count 0-2, favorable for Johnston, who shakes off a couple calls and gets this one in here and tries to make the play, but instead the play will be made over at second by Leifson, who's had a very busy day to start things off.
Clearfield records no runs on 1 hit, no errors.
So after 1.5, the score is still 0-0, and as Maple Mountain steps up to the plate, and Clearfield takes the field. We'd like to take a moment to go ahead and thank our fantastic sponsors over here at Spanish Fork 17. That is Two Jacks Pizza, MVP Sports, Triple T, Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing, and Lance Wilson State Farm. And we'd also like to mention, you might be watching this on TV, and if you are, that's great. We do also have a YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/Spanish Fork 17. We'd appreciate if you'd go ahead and subscribe to us so you can see our future notifications and stay caught up on all the goings-on of going-ons. I'm not sure which one it is. All the going-ons of Spanish Fork. I'll go with that and hope it sounds good to the people at home. Maybe they're sitting there telling me to pick up a dictionary. Either way, we move over to the bottom half of the second. Score is 0-0, only one error on the day. And we'd also like to mention tomorrow's game. We got this nice graphic. Take a picture of it. Take a screenshot. It's the Dons taking on Salem Hills, or if you're old-fashioned, go ahead and pin it into your calendar. That's going to be tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and that is happening if you'd like to attend live over at Salem Hills Baseball Stadium. We hope to see you guys there. So after an interesting ending for the bottom of the first for Maple Mountain, we're going to get back to
Now batting for the Eagles,
number 18, Logan Bringhurst, who would have had the opportunity but was called out after the batter's interference. And he is cleanup hitter today for the Golden Eagles. And he'll see that first one through for strike. A little bit of heat coming now from Ryan Fry. And watch another one through. So that'll make the count 0-2 against him. But he steps up to the plate with all the confidence the guy can muster. And swings hard at that one. It'll get past him. So far we've seen a battle of two pitchers that is playing out in the fashion of zeros on the scoreboard. However, that luck could change very quick here for Ryan Fry. The luck that he's had so far today is Rocher steps into the box. Rocher is the designated hitter for Maple Mountain, number 27. And this first one's going to get in there low, make the count 1-0 with one out in the bottom of the second. So after starting things off with a walk, Fry has seen a single go past, so kind of a rough start to the game, but since then, two back-to-back strikeouts, and especially the notable one against Chris Min. Like we mentioned, one of the top ranked hitters in all batting categories in the state. And hoping to put away Rocher here. It's not looking favorable, though, as the count is 3-0 against him. And Rocher will most likely not be swinging at anything that comes past him. Take a nice casual lean back stance. And they're going to call for time again. And then give the game to the pitcher. And he'll push this one in there high and will be awarded first. So after two back-to-back strikeouts, Rocher makes his way over to first on a walk, bringing in number 17, Chase Johnston, pitcher today for the Golden Eagles. Now, maybe it's a good thing Rocher was walked over there. He is second on the team in batting average at a .393. He is a senior. And another notable thing about Chris Min that I have to do a double take every time I see, he's actually a sophomore this season. So he has a couple favorable years in front of him, and they're going to call a balk there. So they're going to go ahead and push Rocher on over to second with the count still 0-0 against Johnston. And they'll give it back to the pitcher. And Rocher over there is playing tippy-tappy toes, working his way off the base with a Pretty nice lead over there at second. Meanwhile, here in the box, the count is 0-1. And Johnson's almost going to swing at that one, but he doesn't take the bait and has to pay the price. That one's going to get in there for strike 2, make the count 0-2 with 1 out. Runner over at second. And here comes the payoff, and that one's going to be low and in the dirt on the inside, making the count 1-2. So Johnston continues to hang in there with Rocher after being walked and then advanced over at second. And Johnson's going to swing through this one, awarding Fry with his 3rd strikeout of the day on 6 at-bats. And that'll bring up catcher Catterson for the Golden Eagles. Now Catterson doesn't lead the team in necessarily any offensive statistics. However, he is second on the team, just behind Johnston in his fielding percentage with a .990 fielding percentage. He is a senior, and like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of non-tangibles, things that you don't find in the statistics book that prove his worth to this team. He is the backbone of the team. He keeps just about everything in front of him, so he'll look that one to the outside, making it 1-0 with 2 outs on the inning, and Rocher over on second. And that one's going to be just clip the outside, making the count 1-1 against Catterson. And he'll get a tiny little piece of that one, and it'll be fouled right back into the mitt, making the count 1-2. Maple Mountain today just hasn't really been able to get anything going. And they made it to second twice, and just as I say that, this one comes back into the fence next to me, and that'll go ahead and advance Rocher into scoring position over at third. However, with 2 outs in the inning, Maple Mountain will see if they can do anything with that here. 2 outs, 2 strikes, 2 balls in the bottom of the second. So on the play of 2s, Catterson steps back into the box and sees this one inside, making it full count. And things are really starting to get interesting here with Rocher over there in scoring position at third. He'll take a marginal lead. Catterson asks for time and will step out and film the heat of the moment. Decides to cool down Fry, and he'll swing through that one, and that'll wrap up the second. So as we go to commercials here, the score remains 0-0 here in Spanish Fork as your Maple Mountain Eagles take on the Clearfield Falcons.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today.
Contact State Farm agent Lance Wilson today.
Hi, welcome to Two Jacks Pizza.
For the best pizza you'll ever taste and our world-famous cheese sticks, come to Two Jacks Pizza on Main Street in Spanish Fork, or call us for a quick delivery. Are you hungry yet?
Welcome back to Spanish Fork, Utah, where your Maple Mountain Golden Eagles battle against the Clearfield Falcons. So far today, it has been a grand showing by the sophomore, Ryan Fry. He has, after a kind of a shaky start after a walk and a single by Walker, he's pitched 2 strikeouts back-to-back, then gave him a walk, and then 2 more strikeouts after that. So the little offense they've generated has been off the walks, but he is a sophomore, has a couple good years ahead of him. And Maple Mountain, on the other side, they have a pretty excellent sophomore of their own, coming in the name of Cy Chrisman. He's a big body over there at first base, and but mostly punishes people on the offensive end with his extremely high batting average, ranks top 15 in the state at number 12. So next up in the order for the Falcons is going to be number 21, Caden Coleman, who He's been over there at third today and hasn't seen really any action, although he just shared the base with Rocher, who was eventually stranded there. And he's able to push this one over into the slot again, and they've been struggling with that a little lately. And Catterson doesn't quite get to this one as timely as he did the last time, so on a fielding error, Coleman is able to advance on over to second. Now, there's something to be said about the fact that Clearfield, they just barely wrapped up their series, and that was against Northridge, 18th seeded Northridge, and were able to come out on top of them. So they're just rolling right now. They're really looking good out here and against a very strongly seeded opponent. And however, this is a 3-game series, so no matter the outcome today, there is potential for 2 more games following this one. However, we still are early in the game. It's the top of the third. The score is 0-0. The count against Coleman, or excuse me, we're on Meyer, is 1-0, with Coleman over there after an aired single and advanced on over to second. And Meyer gets a piece of this one, sending it back into the fence. The count will be 1-1. With the high stance, the elbow way out. This one's smacked off the plate, making the count 1-2. Just behind the plate, it'll go foul, making the count 1-2. And time is given back to Johnston, who finds the call that he likes. And checks back on Coleman, who has taken a little bit of a lead there. And this one's smacked over towards the Maple Mountain dugout. And there is definitely a lot of room over here at this Maple Mountain field on the right and left of the field. However, this one's going to be out of play, landing safely for Meyer. And he takes the 1-2 pitch. And this one's going to get in there low, make the count 2-2 with a runner on second. 0 outs in the top of the third. And another foul, this time left. First right, then left, and then nothing really advancing here, so the count remains at 2-2. Meyer will step back into the box. Meyer, who is center fielder for the Falcons. So we went left, right, as this one's going to be fouled back over the Maple Mountain dugout, and it looks like they're running low on balls out there. So we get a couple balls brought out to us by junior James Horsley, helping his squad out today. And fouled right again. So after a horde of pitches, the count remains at 2-2. And Johnson hoping to finally put this one away. And he does it right there, clipping on the outside.
Golden Eagles. Now batting number 23, Peyton Cotter.
And that'll bring up number 23, Cotter. He had a ground out in part of that series of ground outs between Meyer and Cotter. They were over in the gap between second and third and filled by the shortstop. Leaveson over to Chrisman at first. And then after that, on an error, they were able to advance Ross. And he puts it to the exact same spot there. But this time the play is made, just like last time. So another ground out in the exact same slot for him.
Number 22, Jake Ross.
So far, minus the 2 mishaps, very good fielding for Leaveson, who's seen a lot of action today. And that'll bring up number 22, Ross. He was able to get on first after the error where Catterson was able to corral it back against the dugout area of the fence over here. And he keeps this one in front of him. However, Coleman has no interest in advancing after Johnston heads to home and makes sure there's no action there. And Ross squares up again. And takes a strike down the middle. Caught him looking, making the count 1-1.
Chase, settle down.
Now with the count 2-1, runner over on third, 2 outs in the inning. Johnston's trying to wrap this one up. And Ross gets a piece of that one, but sends it foul over the right field dugout, the home team dugout. Whoever they have as ball boy over there has definitely been busy today. Gets a better chunk of this one where it is caught out there just past the, or just in field. And that's going to be A.J. Thomas who fields that one. And we're going to go ahead and switch the innings here. And in the meantime, we'd like to go ahead and thank our awesome sponsors over here at Spanish Fork 17. That is Triple T Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, MVP Sports, 2 Jacks Pizza, and Lance Wilson State Farm. So as Clearfield takes their defensive positions on the day for Johnston, he's had a little bit of a, I mean, you could say it's a rough start for what we're so used to from him, but he's pitched 3 strikeouts, and they've seen a couple of singles, but no walks on the day. So most of those singles, to be fair, were on errors by the fielder. So he's seen a pretty good day. And we're going to flip over to the other side, where next up in the order is going to be number 22, center fielder for Maple Mountain. That is Bennett Averett. Averett is a 6'1" senior. Who is dwarfed, like most others on the team, by 6'4" Chrisman, who's only a sophomore. Maybe still has room to grow if he's not a multi-sport athlete. I think some people are going to be really upset. Averett on the season is third on the team for batting average. He bats a .377 and is second on the team for on-base percentage at .512, just behind Chrisman, and he's hit 2 home runs on the season. And I'm sure they would really appreciate some of that right now, as Maple Mountain has really struggled to get any offense going due to the pitching of number 11 up there on the mound, Ryan Fry, who has seen a really good day up to this point with 4 strikeouts in 7 at-bats.
Now batting for Maple Mountain, number 22, Bennett Averett.
And Averett will come in with all the cheers he needs to get going from his dugout here. And we're pretty dang close to a capacity crowd here in Spanish Fork at Maple Mountain High. Well, at least on the Maple Mountain side. Clearfield has a little bit further to travel, so Avery will see this one through. Ball, making the count 1-0. Good eye by him. And this one will get in there and smack the feet out from underneath pitcher Fry, who is able to recover and make the play over to first, and Swartz collects it, but Fry is down. He's hurt. Took a quick one right to the foot. Just a real heads-up play, being able to see that one out and make the play. However, like I mentioned earlier, if he can't hop back into this one, they do have a couple good options in relief. The team is going to gather around. They're going to bring out the Maple Mountain trainer. So with that out right there, we're here in the bottom of the third. The score is still 0-0 between your Golden Eagles and the Clearfield High School Falcons.
Big hand to number 11, Ryan Free. We hope he's okay.
And he's back on his feet. It remains to be seen if he's going to stay up on the mound, but he's definitely hurting. And good sportsmanship here from our home team, the Maple Mountain Golden Eagles. All the fans, honestly, it was louder over here than, well, I think just due to the capacity than it was over there. And he's pitching looking great. He gets one right down the lane there. So it looks like they're going to go ahead and opt to keep him out there with his squad and at least wrap up the defensive stretch of the bottom of the third for the Falcons. Now stepping up to the plate for the Golden Eagles after that out by Averett is Colby Warren. Warren plays over in right field, number 11. He's a senior. Also come in as a right-handed pitcher, but he's just a great utility player for him. And the count's going to be 1-0. Here comes the 1-0, and he's going to get a good chunk of this one, sending it out to center, where it remains to be seen. And there's a little mishap out there in center, and the ground's going to stay, or the ball's going to stay on the ground, and he's going to round, and he could have. He definitely didn't have to slide in, but the fans are going to show him how much they appreciate him. That's going to be
triple from number 11, Colby Warren.
That's going to be a fly triple. And looks like there's going to be another injury for the Falcons out there, and I can tell it's going to be a mix-up out there as they were crossing paths between Meyer and Finn. So there was just a little bit of miscommunication. They crossed paths, and it looks like they incidentally hit each other as they came across each other. And Warren's going to stay over there on third, but we're going to take a second to make sure everything's going on. Everything's good out there in the outfield. So once again, that's left fielder Logan Finn. He crossed paths with Hudson Meyer, and I can't tell who's on the ground out there. Let's see, it's number 6. That's Logan Finn, who's sitting out there, left fielder. So it looks like as he came across in front of Meyer, he may have ran into him or in an attempt to make the play. But he'll be back up, and I'll tell you what, the Maple Mountain trainer is getting her work in as she headed out to the mound and heads out to the outfield. And well, it's a beautiful day out here in Spanish Fork. We have a little bit of wind coming in from the southwest, but that's to be expected over here. Usually in the mornings it comes out of the canyon up Spanish Fork Canyon. The Highway 6 extends all the way out to Moab and Arizona. Beyond that, we get quite a bit of wind there that comes in from the southeast in the morning, and then we get it from the opposite direction in the late afternoon. Really beautiful day. Probably close to 70, maybe a tad warmer out in the sun and a tad cooler out in the shade. And then just to remind everyone, after this round right here, we are in the second round. So Maple Mountain had a bye in the first round. They're taking on Clearfield here, and then they get to take on the winner of 7-seeded Murray, who's in about with Woods Cross at this moment. And it looks like everyone's back on their feet, and things are starting to trend back towards getting the game going here. We hope everybody's okay over there for Clearfield. They've had a little bout of injuries right here. And so far, it looked like they've been able to mostly shake them off. So that'll bring in A.J. Thomas, who walked his first at bat and then was later tagged out at second. And pops that one high into a similar area, but this is true center. And they're not going to be able to make the play back home, so Colby Warren, after initially getting all the way around to third on the mishap for the Falcons, is able to punch his way home on a single RBI by A.J. Thomas. So the count is 1-0 against Walker. And pumps that one in there for ball 2. Interesting to see how Fry does up there on the mound after getting hit. He's seeming to, for the most part, taking stride so far. And pumps this one in there for strike 2. So the count is 2-2 with 2 outs in the bottom of the third. 1-0 in favor of Maple Mountain, and this one's fouled back into the fence here. Give me the count at 2-2. Here's the windup and delivery, and swings over the top of this one, making it strike 3. Just going to wrap up that inning on a strikeout. After damage has been done by Maple Mountain, making the score 1-0 at the bottom of the third. We'll see you on the other side.
If you're looking for a workout, you know MVP Sports is the place to start, and that includes pickleball. MVP Sports has all you need to get active in this growing sport. Paddles, shoes, clothing, and the pickleballs. MVP Sports in Spanish Fork.
The best time to check your furnace is before it fails, and you can rely on Triple T to do the job right. Our technicians are trained every year so you can sleep better at night, knowing your furnace is safe to operate. Call Triple T at 798-7711 to schedule your tune-up today.
So after an inning that was plagued by injuries for the Clearfield Falcons, Maple Mountain goes up 1-0. And we're here in the top of the fourth. This is your Maple Mountain Golden Eagles taking on the Clearfield Falcons. And this is the second round, Region 7 in the 5A group of the state playoffs. And next up in the order for the Falcons is going to be number 6, Logan Finn.
Falcons, number 6, Logan Finn.
He struck out looking on his first time at bat. And the damage that Johnston has done on the day has been 3 strikeouts so far. Nonetheless, no damage done, no walks on the day. And he'll foul this one back, making the count 1-1. Here in the top of the fourth, 0 outs. And Johnson pumps that one in there. It looks like it could have clipped the outside, however, it does not, making the count 2-1. gives the nod. And this one's pushed out to the same spot we've seen a lot of action at today, and we're going to get a result that we've seen a lot so far. That's going to be the Leafson-Chrisman connection from short over there to first. And Chrisman has a lot of body to extend out there and is able to reach out and get the out over at first, making it 1 out on the top of the 4th. And that'll bring up number 3, Colt Chambers. And this one's pushed over into the other slot. Same result, though. So a quick 1-2 outs against these Falcons. The first one over into the 2-3 slot, and the second one over into the 1-2 slot. And that one's fielded by A.J. Thomas, once again to Chrisman, who makes the play. So 2 outs here in the top of the 4th. And that'll bring up number 14, Taven Swartz, plays first base. And that one is going to be fielded on a diving catch by Max Walker, who goes belly down into the ground, and you can hear the fans getting loud out here, and they definitely deserve to. That's a well-earned hustle play for Walker. And as we go ahead and switch over to the other side of the inning, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. That is Triple T, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, Two Jacks Pizza, MVP Sports, and Lance Wilson State Farm. And once again, we'd like to mention that you can always find us on YouTube at youtube.com/Spanish Fork 17. And you can watch replays of this game here. You can watch replays of all the past games that we've been able to have the privilege to bring you coverage for, as well as city council meetings. And we have a couple other programs coming your way, just all the goings-on of Spanish Fork. And see, that time I said goings, for those of you who have been joining us since the second inning and are keeping track. So that'll bring up a fun portion of the order here for Maple Mountain, starting things off with number 12, Chrisman, followed up by Brinkhurst and then Rocher. So the 3, 4, 5, and then they'll be followed up by Johnston if they get to that point, after a quick 1, 2, 3 for Maple Mountain, and then the excellent effort of Max Walker, who's able to make the belly down diving catch out there that was well out in front of him and somehow managed to hustle his way out to it. And Fry on the day has gone mostly without incident. He's seen 5 strikeouts. And the Falcons as a team have allowed 1 past them. So all 6'4" of Cy Chrisman comes striding out to the batter's box. He would be the one person on this team that I'd be just about eye level with, maybe a tad taller. And he squares up and takes a fat chunk out of this one. And they're going to call it foul out there in left. Had a lot of lateral movement to it, though. Looked like it was maybe going to get in there fair way out in deep left. But lands foul, making the count 0-1 against Chrisman, who struck out in his first at-bat. You can see here when he swings hard and fouls this one back into the fence. Making the count 0-2 with 0 outs in the bottom of the 4th. A score 1-2-0 in favor of Maple Mountain. And this one's going to go low and outside, making it 1-2. And another one in the dirt. Just collected by Ross behind the plate. Who hasn't let anything past him as of yet. And Chrisman's going to watch another one go way outside, making it full count, 3-2. 0 outs in the bottom of the fourth. Chrisman will get into a much lower stance, squared up and ready to go at it, and he's able to get a healthy chunk of that one, sending it just past third baseman Caden Coleman, and it's eventually fielded by Logan Finn, who was in a little bit of an accident earlier, but no worse for wear. And Chrisman advances over to first, continuing to boost his on-base percentage and his batting average. And he'll take a little bit of a lead as Brinkhurst makes his way up to the plate. He struck out earlier. And watches this one through for a strike. Making the count 0-1 with 0 outs in the bottom of the fourth. And Fry will take a peek over at Chrisman. He had one balk earlier, but Chrisman isn't quite the stilling threat as maybe some of these other hitters are. So the count against Brinkhurst is 0-2. And that one's going to go high above his head. And jumping up to make the catch is Ross, and no incident there where it could have been for the Falcons. Clearfield outside of the bottom of the third has been pretty much without incident on the day. And they go for the double play here.
Now batting for Maple Mountain, number 27, Jake Rocher.
So the double play is made by the Falcons. Oh, excuse me. It looks like they're going to award. I thought he was walking off the field, but Brinkhurst is going to advance on over to second. It looks like there was going to be some fielder's interference out there, but Chrisman is tagged out over at second. And he is replaced by Brinkhurst over on second with Rocher up to bat. Rocher walked his first at bat of the day, and he'll swing through this one, making the count 0-1 with a runner over on second. And swings through another, making the count 0-2. Despite being a 15 seed, Clearfield is definitely holding their own in this game and keeping Maple Mountain from gaining any real momentum. Maple Mountain is up 1-0 on the day, with 1 out in the bottom of the fourth and a runner over on second. That is number 18, Brinkhurst. And Rocher is going to strike out here, swinging through this one. So a walk and a strikeout for him on the day. And that'll bring up number 17, Chase Johnston, pitcher for the Golden Eagles. Johnston is a junior, measuring 6'1", so he has another year in front of him to continue and help this program. I imagine with the way he pitches, there's probably already going to be a couple colleges with their eyes on him. He squares up here, the left-handed stance. And we'll watch the first one through for a strike with 2 outs on the inning and a runner over on second. And he'll swing through this one over the top, making the count 0-2, 2 outs. And Fry, despite the 2 singles in the bottom of the fourth, is hoping to wrap up the inning without any runs scored. He'll put that one in there for a ball, make the count 1 and 2. You figure Johnston's going to be swinging here if it's anywhere around that plate. And he does, and is able to find the gap, and the play is made by the Falcons, who have had quite a bit of fielding success for the day by Taven Swartz and Cole Chambers, Cotter and Swartz. So that'll wrap up the fourth with no incident there, making the score 1-0 in favor of Maple Mountain. We'll see you when we're back.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today.
Contact State Farm agent Lance Wilson today.
Hi, welcome to Two Jacks Pizza.
For the best pizza you'll ever taste and our world-famous cheese sticks, come to Two Jacks Pizza on Main Street in Spanish Fork, or call us for a quick delivery. Are you hungry yet?
Welcome back to Spanish Fork 17, where we're covering the high school boys baseball matchup between your Maple Mountain Golden Eagles and the Clearfield Fountains. So after 4 innings of play, the score remains 1-0 in favor of second-seeded Maple Mountain as they take on 15th-seeded Clearfield, who is holding their own. If necessity calls for it, there could be a third game in this series, but as far as we know right now, there will be 2 games, today at 4 o'clock and tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And they will be home games for Maple Mountain, who has fought for their seed here. And we'll just be on the other side of the valley here covering Spanish Fork as they take on Salem Hills. And Johnston back up on the mound. Gets that one in there for strike 1. Against Fry, pitcher for the Falcons. He's seen a little bit of success today, was able to get on base where he was stranded earlier in the game. And the count is 1-1 against him. And this one's going to go low, make the count 2-1. That one's going to get pumped in there for a strike, make the count 2-2. Johnston tries to wrap it up here, and Fry will swing clear over the top of it. And nowhere near getting a piece of that one, so that makes for 1 out on a strikeout for Johnston here in the top of the 5th. Bringing up to the plate, George Garcia. He had a ground out earlier, and it looks like it may be the same result here. And after a little bit of a fumble, Chrisman's able to get a piece of it and pitch it up to Johnston, who comes over to make the play.
Now batting number 21, Caden Coleman.
And that'll bring up Coleman for the Falcons. Was able to get a single out there earlier, but nothing came of it. He was left stranded as well, along with Fry. And going to go ahead and ask the first base ump if he swung through that, and he did not. So the count's going to be 1-1 with that one being a lot clearer than the first. Johnston has recorded 4 strikeouts on the day, no walks, as the base hit single in between the 2-3 slot is going to be smacked out there, where it's eventually fielded by Walker. And Coleman advances on his second single of the day over onto first, and we flip over to the top of the order, starting with Meyer, and behind him you got Cotter, Ross, and Finn. Meyer on the day has had a ground out and a strikeout, one of the 4 strikeouts for Johnston. Falcons coach is going to come over and have a quick word with the home plate ump.
And to run for the Falcons, number 17, Matt.
And they're going to bring in a runner for Coleman. That's number 17, Matt Rudman. And they're going to make a pickoff attempt over there, but he's going to get back in safe. Just trying to keep him honest. And this one's going to be belted out to center, where it's going to get away from Averett, and Averett's going to try and make the play here, and they about rounded back to home.
Incredible defensive play from your Mountain Coleman Eagles.
After the designated runner for the Falcons, Rudman, rounded third, he decided to make his way on, but after the excellent fielding of Averett, who was able to get into Brinkhurst tagged him as he made his way back to base. So he thought he was going to get through and maybe round to home, and then had to pay the penance for that. So that's going to be the third out of the inning for the Golden Eagles. And as we flip sides here, we'd like to go ahead and thank our sponsors. That is MVP Sports, Two Jacks Pizza, Lance Wilson State Farm, and Triple T Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Alrighty, after 4.5 innings of play, the score remains 1-2-0 in favor of Maple Mountain as they take on the visiting team, the Clearfield Falcons. The lone score came for Maple Mountain in the form of Colby Warren, who was able to hit a outfield fly double, which due to air and a run-in of players turned into a triple, and then he was later to round and score on a single by A.J. Thomas. And next in the order, we'll go to catcher Braden Catterson. On the day he's struck out so far, and on deck behind him is Averett, who had a ground out.
28, Braden Catterson.
Catterson will step into the box against Ryan Fry, who has looked real good on the day. A sophomore for this Falcon squad. And he'll pitch that one outside there, one outside, making the count 1-0 against Catterson. Up to this point, he's had 5 strikeouts, has walked 1, and gets that one through for a strike, make the count 1-1 against Catterson. 0 outs on the inning in the bottom of the 5th. And this one's pushed in high. Really good day behind the mound for Ross, Jake Ross, catcher for the Falcons. Catterson's going to ask for time here with the 2-1 count. And quickly step back into the box. And he takes a chunk out of the bottom of this one, sending it back over the fence. So it's going to be foul, making the count 2-2. And Catterson struck out earlier, and he's going to strike out again here. So tough luck for Catterson today as he takes the 5-pitch strikeout. And that'll bring in center fielder Bennett Averett, who had a ground out earlier today. He's a senior and the one who contributed towards the play, which wrapped up the offensive hopes for Clearfield in the top of this inning, as he was able to get the ball back into play over to third, where the play was eventually made by Brinkhurst. And he'll watch this one go low and in the dirt. Made the count 1-0 with 1 out. comes the second pitch. And that curve's going to get pumped in there for strike one, making the count 1-1. Definitely took the heat off it that time, but it just clipped the top portion of the zone. And here comes a third, and this one's going to be outside and low. Making it 2-1 against Averett. Next in the order is the portion of the order that's had pretty good measure of success today, starting things off with Warren. And then on to Leifson and Thomas. This one's going to be tapped back. So Bennett Averett staring at a 2-2 count with one out here in the bottom of the fifth. Maple Mountain out ahead with one run. And gets a good chunk of this one, send it back into center where he plays. And he'd be proud of that fielding right there if only it was in his interest. As Hudson Myers able to make the play out there in center field. So a fly out for Averett. Bring up Warren, who's the lone run of the day for Maple Mountain and in the game. He's facing up against two outs. And won't beat the ball here as the play is made between Peyton Cotter and Taven Swartz.
All right, at bat.
And that'll go ahead and wrap up the
runs,
fifth.
no hits, no errors.
And we will see in just a moment here on Spanish Fork 17.
Your Maple Mountain goal.
If you're looking for a workout, you know MVP Sports is the place to start, and that includes pickleball. MVP Sports has all you need to get active in this growing sport. Paddles, shoes, clothing, and the pickleballs. MVP Sports in Spanish Fork.
The best time to check your furnace is before it fails, and you can rely on Triple T to do the job right. Our technicians are trained every year so you can sleep better at night, knowing your furnace is safe to operate. Call Triple T at 798-7711 to schedule your tune-up today.
Welcome back to Spanish Fork 17, where your Maple Mountain Golden Eagles are taking on the visiting Clearfield Falcons. The Falcons seated 15th in the 5A standings. Maple Mountain seated second. However, the Falcons have been holding their own today as the score is only 1-0 in favor of Maple Mountain. That lone score coming from Colby Warren. And as we flip over to the top of the sixth,
Leading off for the Falcons, number 23, Peyton
it'll be
Cotter.
number 23, Peyton Cotter. He's had two ground outs on the day and has really been favoring that window over in between second and third, where the play's been made both times by Leifson. And he's going to ask for time and step out of the box for a couple seconds there, giving Johnston time to make sure his heat's ready, and he's going to push this one low in the dirt. Held on to it for a tad bit too long. Making the count 1-0. It comes up into the chest plate of Catterson. And this one's going to come lone inside, making the count 2-0. And Cotter will swing at this one, and it's going to be fouled out over the left field line, although he got a very healthy chunk of it, making the count 2-1, and he's going to work his way back to home plate in the batter's box. On deck for this Clearfield squad is number 22, Jake Ross, who was able to hit a single in the first, the lone on base of the first, and one of the four singles from the Falcons today. Chase is going to put another one lone in the dirt, almost the same spot as that first pitch. Made the count 3-1 against Cotter. And he's going to go ahead and walk Cotter. That is his first walk of the day.
Now batting number 22.
And he has
Jake
recorded
Ross.
4 strikeouts. Now bring up Ross. And he'll finally step into the box after a moment's delay. And that pickoff attempt, although it hasn't found any success today, it hasn't gotten past Chris Min, so they'll continue to use that and keep these runners honest. And this one's going to get fouled back here into the fence, right at my feet, making the count 0-1 against Ross. And here comes the other, not much of a pickoff attempt. Just saying, hey, we know you're there. We're watching you. Here comes the pitch by Johnston. This one's going to be way upstairs, but still, Ross is going to swing through it, make the count 0-2. Very favorable for Johnston here, hoping for his 5th strikeout of the day with 0 outs here in the top of the 6th. And with a little bit of action here, they're going to get the out over at first.
From number 1 in your heart and mind, AJ
And the out
Thomas.
over at second. So I'm going to take out Ross and Cotter on the play. And not much movement for Thomas over there, who had to take a couple of steps and get it to the bag. That'll bring in Logan Finn now, batting against 2 outs on the inning, no runners on base. And the play will be made here. Excellent play at that.
Another out accounted for AJ. At that at bat, Clearfield records no runs, no hits.
So AJ having a heck of a time here. And as we switch over into the bottom of the 6th, we'd like to take a moment to go ahead and thank our sponsors here at Spanish Fork 17. That is MVP Sports, 2 Jacks Pizza, Triple T Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Lance Wilson State Farm. So if you're just joining us out here at Maple Mountain High School, we're here for our coverage of high school boys baseball. And we're taking on the visiting Clearfield Falcons. The score is 1-0 in favor of Maple Mountain, with the lone run coming from Colby Warren, who actually hit the ground out that wrapped up the bottom of the 5th for Maple Mountain. So next in the order is going to be Sawyer Layson. And then following him is going to be the top of the order, starting with Thomas, then Walker, then Chrisman. Excuse me, it's gonna be starting at the top of the order with Thomas. Leifson was part of that portion, the fly out, ground out, and then another ground out to wrap up that 5th inning. So how about number 1, Max Walker on the day. He struck out once and hit a single. He's hoping to maybe go back to some of his earlier in-game success here. He's still up on the mound for this Clearfield squad is Ryan Fry. So far in the game, he's struck out 5, walked 1, and had 4 singles hit against him, and 1 double.
Number 1, AJ Thomas.
Now Thomas, he measures up at 5'7". He is a junior. And he's going to hit this one high into the sky where the play will eventually be made over there by Swartz.
Now batting for the Eagles, number 10, Max.
And that'll bring up Walker, who on the day has hit a single and struck out in the third. Excuse me, in the fourth. And he takes a standing up stance, but we'll watch this one through. It's going to clip the outside for strike one. So the count 0-1 against Walker with no runners on base. One out in the inning, and he'll hit that window that Clearfield has been really enjoying all day and making great use of. However, they're not able to make the play over there to Taven Swartz. So the Cotter-Swartz connection doesn't make it quite in time, and Walker pushes way on over to first and beats the ball. So with one on base, that'll bring in big hitter Chrisman, who has struck out on the day and later on hit a single. However, on his way over to second, he was tagged out. And this is one high into the sky, back behind him and out of play. So with Walker on base, Crispin's going to call for time. Step out of the box, measure things up, make sure he's right. He'll come in, tap across the plate twice. Seems like the same thing that Avery does. And he's able to get a chunk of this one, send it out into left field in that same window, just with a little bit more velocity on it than Walker put it out there with. And so he'll make his way over to first, and Walker will make his way over to second. So with two on base and one out in the inning, that'll bring in Brinkhurst, who on the day struck out in the second, and then got on base with a single in the fourth. And Brinkhurst will step out of the box. And Fry's making sure to keep a close eye on Walker here. And Brinkhurst swings through this one just a tad early. So it looks like they may have got him on an early count changeup here. Made the count 0-1. Two runners on base, one out in the inning. Score 1-0 in favor of Maple Mountain in the bottom of the sixth. And he's able to smack this one over where the play is made at second. And they don't attempt to make the play with Walker over there in scoring position, but Chrisman, despite two singles on the day, is going to be tagged out twice as he makes his way on over to second. So the story that keeps going, and Brinkhurst gets over to first on a ground single. Now Rocher on the day was walked in the second and then struck out looking in the bottom of the fourth.
32, Caden Giles.
Excuse me, it's going to be Giles who's up to bat. No, they just said Giles. It's definitely Rocher. So they're going to have a quick mound meeting after the count goes in favor of Rocher here, 1-0, and just make sure Fry's still feeling good and feeling like he's ready to keep carrying this team on his back with a run over on first and third, or if they need to bring in somebody in relief in this situation. Fry's been good for him on the day, almost for the whole day except for in the bottom of the third, and maybe now. He's seen 3 singles back to back, with the fly out and a ground out coming before that. So coach is going to opt to keep him out there on the mound, and he's going to push this one in there. That's fouled back into the fence here, make the count 1-1. So it's all level, 1-1 count, 2 outs here in the bottom of the 6th. Runners on the corners. And that one's gonna go outside. And in the meantime, the designated runner for Brinkhurst is gonna go ahead and advance over there. That is number, I believe, 32. Giles. That's who they were mentioning just a second ago. So the play is going to be made over there in right by George Garcia, who's had a mostly quiet day. And that'll wrap it up here in the 6th. So with that, Maple Mountains still ahead 1-0 over the visiting Clearfield Falcons. We will see you in a moment when we're back.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today.
Contact State Farm agent Lance Wilson today.
Hi, welcome to Two Jacks Pizza.
For the best pizza you'll ever taste and our world-famous cheese sticks, come to Two Jacks Pizza on Main Street in Spanish Fork or call us for a quick delivery. Are you hungry yet?
Welcome back to Spanish Fork 17 as your Maple Mountain Golden Eagles take on the visiting Clearfield Falcons, who have seen quite a bit of success today, especially as they've fielded and defended. They've been able to hold Maple Mountain to 1 run, which came in the bottom of the 3rd in the form of Colby Warren, who hit a double, which later ended up getting him through. And on the other side of things, Clearfield just hasn't really been able to generate that much offense. They've had 4 singles and then 1 lone walk, which came for Cotter, as Johnston has seen quite a bit of success for the day, and this is a double elimination setup series, so regardless of the outcome today, Maple Mountain is going to have to turn around and continue to defend their homestand tomorrow as they take on this 15th seeded Clearfield. And the Maple Mountain dugout is loud over there, and they'll get that first pitch strike here against number 3, Colt Chambers, after the last few batters fouled out, ground out, walked, and ground out. So good fielding as well by Maple Mountain. And the count is quickly 1-1. And this one's going to clip outside and low. So the bottom right of the zone, force strike 2, make the count 1-2 against Chambers, who had 2 ground outs on the day. And the first one was in that second base to third base window, and then the other one was right over the top of second base. And Johnston gets 2 calls that he shakes off, and then finally gets the call that he likes, and this one's going to be fouled back towards the spectators and just barely miss a couple of the spectators in the back row there. And that'll make the count 2-2. So Chambers isn't cautious about swinging. He just hasn't put it to where he wants to so far, as he fouls again back over our heads here. Made the count still 2-2 with 0 outs here in the top of the 7th. And gets a chunk of this one. And after a fielders there by A.J. Thomas, who's been over there at second base today. He bobbles it twice. Finn is able to advance on one that could have been a ground out, but Maple Mountain is not able to make the play, and that'll be their 3rd error on the day. However, they've still come out on top. And that'll bring in first baseman Taven Swartz, who struck out in the 2nd and then hit a fly out later on. They take a long glance over at first. But Chambers isn't going anywhere. Dust-covered Chambers, who slid in. And Chrisman will reach back, try to make the tag, but nothing happening there. Just trying to keep Chambers with a face full of dirt. So the count remains 0-0 with 0 outs in the top of the 7th. And he takes a look on over to first again and then gets this one in there. That's going to be high, making the count 2-0 against Swartz, who hasn't had any success so far on the day. One thing to note is Maple Mountain has all the depth any coach could ask for, any squad could ask for on the mound, with a couple very strong relievers, should the occasion call for it, as Johnston sends that one high and outside, making it 3-0. I'm guessing Swartz isn't going to be swinging here, and he doesn't. He watches that one right down the lane for strike one, making the count 3-1. And if he didn't swing at that one, he'll be swinging here now. Johnston looks again over at first and winds up and gives a good delivery, and Swartz will swing over the top of this one. Make the count 3-2, 0 outs on the inning. Runner over at first. And this one's going to be popped high up over our heads, fouled back. Keep the count at 3-2. Chambers still at first, not taking much of a lead over there with the efficiency that Johnston and Chrisman have been connecting at. And this one's going to go low in the dirt, and they're going to go ahead and award Swartz first base, and Chambers is going to make his way on to second, and they're going to have their first mound meeting of the day here in the top of the 7th, as the Falcons are able to get 2 on base. So for the day, Chase Johnston, he's been pretty efficient. He's pitched now 2 walks and struck out 4 times on the day. So not his best outing we've seen this season, but still a solid work from him so far. He's going to stay out there on the mound. They're going to opt to just keep him out there, give him a talk, and the coach is just going to vouch his confidence for him with 0 outs here in the top of the 7th. And that'll bring in number 11, Riley. Oh, they said Free. I've been saying Fry all game. I hope I haven't been getting that wrong, but if it is Free, Ryan Free, he's had a single in the 2nd, and then he struck out later on. He'll step out for a moment. So with runners at first and second, 0 outs in the inning, we have the 0-0 count. And this one's going to be pushed in there low. And Catterson is able to trap this one down by shins. making the count 1-0. And they're going to take time again. Now Chambers over there, after getting on base with his single and advancing on the walk, is taking a creeping lead. And this one looked like he could have clipped, but they're going to call it outside. Made the count 2-0.
Got Chase. Just guys behind you, huh? All right.
Johnston's feeling the heat of the moment and is able to put this one right in the right side of the zone, where it is fouled out into right field on a little bit of an early swing. Making the count 2-1 against Free. And this one's going to be in there low, making the count 3-1. Runners on first and second. The score 0-1 in favor of Maple Mountain, who has held things at this point since the bottom of the third, where they were able to score on the shoulders of Colby Warren. And that one's going to be pumped inside and get the bottom left, making the count full 3-2. And he was here just a second ago and then saw a foul and then walked Swartz. And gonna threaten the toss back to second, where Chambers is taking a cautious lead. And Leeson is sitting just over his shoulder. And he'll swing through and miss, and that's exactly what Johnston needed to get him feeling good again. And that's going to retire Ryan Free, who has had a single on the day, struck out, and then struck out right there. According to the fifth strikeout for Johnston. He needs a couple more here to go through this top of the seventh unscathed. And they're going to threaten bunt, and this one's going to be fouled back on the bunt attempt. So he came in just under it. That is number 16, George Garcia, who was able to make the play earlier over in right field, where he's not seen a lot of action today, but stepped up when it mattered. And Catterson's going to walk out and make the call and get back down into position. The count is 0-1. They're going to continue to keep Chambers honest, who keeps taking a lead and then keeps stepping back onto base at safety. He might be there for a bit. And coach and hitter are going to have a quick meeting over here. After that bunt attempt that was sent back into the fence here. So Garcia will step back into the box after a little bit of a lull in the action. The count is 0-1 with one out. Here in the top of the seventh, Maple Mountain leads 1-0. And another bunt attempt. This one's going to come down into the bottom of the zone, making the count 0-2 against Garcia. And coach is probably going to give him, I'd imagine, a different call here, unless he's going to, you know, maybe he's thinking third time's the charm, who knows? I'd imagine not. He'll square up to slug this one out there. And that one's going to come in low. And Catterson's able to trap it, sends it back to Johnston, who would love to see another one go down to a strikeout here. Making his sixth of the day if he's able to get it. And this one's going to be fouled out over the right field line. Keeping the count at 1-2 against Garcia. So couldn't get the bunt he wanted, so now he's going to start swinging here late in the strike count. One out on the inning, runners on first and second. And that one's going to be in there, strike three, got him on the curve. So Johnston with 6 strikeouts on the day is able to get Garcia there, and then we're going to be to the very bottom of the order here with Caden Coleman, who's hit 2 singles on the day, so maybe one of the most successful hitters so far for the Clearfield squad. However, with all this momentum that Johnston's feeling here, he just needs one more to wrap up the action here in Spanish Fork at Maple Mountain High. He finds the call that he likes. Runner still on first and second, and pushes this one in here. And the play is going to be made, and that wraps up the action over there between A.J. Thomas and Cy Chrisman. So your final score, if you can't hear it on the PA above me, is going to be 1-0 in favor of Maple Mountain, who wraps things up on a tremendous effort for Chase Johnston, who, despite getting 2 on base, was able to keep a level head. We're going to give you a recap of the action and designate our MVP Sports MVP of the game when we come back here in a moment. Thank you for tuning in with Spanish Fork 17.
If you're looking for a workout, you know MVP Sports is the place to start, and that includes pickleball. MVP Sports has all you need to get active in this growing sport. Paddles, shoes, clothing, and the pickleballs. MVP Sports in Spanish Fork.
The best time to check your furnace is before it fails, and you can rely on Triple T to do the job right. Our technicians are trained every year so you can sleep better at night, knowing your furnace is safe to operate. Call Triple T at 798-7711 to schedule your tune-up today.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today.
Contact State Farm agent Lance Wilson today.
Hi, welcome to Two Jacks Pizza.
For the best pizza you'll ever taste and our world-famous cheese sticks, come to Two Jacks Pizza on Main Street in Spanish Fork, or call us for a quick delivery. Are you hungry yet?
Welcome back to Spanish Fork 17, where your Maple Mountain Golden Eagles are playing in round 2 of the state 5A playoffs and have just defeated in the first game of this series the Clearfield High School Falcons after an excellent effort all around, but it was really seen by a couple players that we'd like to go ahead and highlight here. One of them was Colby Warren, the lone run of the day, who was able to punch it out there into left field on a double and then eventually round the bases to score after a little bit of help from A.J. Thomas and Max Walker. Max Walker with 2 singles on the day, and Cy Chrisman with 2 singles as well. However, the MVP Sports MVP of the game, this game has to go to Chase Johnston. On the day, he pitched 6 strikeouts. He had 2 walks. And then, just like we mentioned earlier, it came to a point where he just had to keep a level head, and despite a runner behind him on second, a runner to his left on first, he was able to maintain his composure and wrap up the game with a strikeout, and then Maple Mountain was able to field the last out of the day. So with 1 score in the bottom of the third, Maple Mountain game 1-0, and they will take on Clearfield again tomorrow. That game will happen at 1 o'clock. It will be here at Maple Mountain High. And meanwhile, we will be over on the other side of town providing coverage of the Spanish Fork Salem Hills game as they take the second game in their series. And we'd like to once again mention that you can see us on YouTube. That's youtube.com/Spanish Fork 17. We'd like to thank everyone who makes things possible here at Spanish Fork 17, all of our great sponsors. And then thanks to our viewers as well, whether you're on the TV, on YouTube, or have come to support Maple Mountain here in person. We hope to see you tomorrow. And go Maple Mountain. Cut it.